Bang on the 90. Indeed. Eddie Nketiah there with the late winner as Arsenal triumph in a game that many people, Daniel Storey, had said was going to be a bit of an acid test as to their title credentials. What do you feel now?
Yeah, I do feel like I'm sort of predestined every week Arsenal win to say that's the test they've passed. Now there's only one more and we'll believe they can win the league until we get to sort of early May. But this was brilliant. It was a brilliant game, firstly. It was a wonderful affair to watch. But the kind of irrepressible nature of Arsenal from the Man United equaliser onwards, I thought was massive. It's as if they'd said, yeah, you've had your fun. Thanks for coming. We've just gifted you a goal, but we will be winning this game. Don't worry about that. We will pin you back in. We will make you clear it long like you're a bottom half team, and we will eventually do you, and we'll score. And that confidence is not to be sniffed at, because there is huge pressure every game now in Arsenal, particularly against the only team that had beaten them this season in the league. And there was just waves and waves and waves of pressure, and not just waves of pressure because we see waves of pressure quite a lot, but generally, for example, Leeds had waves and waves of pressure against Brentford early on Sunday, but they made bad decisions doing it. It's the pressure they build up, but also making the right decisions more often than not that's astonishing to me, really.
Yeah, this was a battering, wasn't it? 3-2 doesn't look that way, but when you actually, I watched the game back, and in the first half, I felt that Arsenal largely controlled the game. They were put under good pressure by Manchester United out of possession, and it meant that they hurried Arsenal, and Arsenal weren't as fluid as we've seen them. But I was watching with my flatmate, and I said to him, in the second half, Manchester United have had to go for this so hard that they are going to drop off, and we saw that slow turn of the screw in the second half as well. But what I found interesting about this game is that it was very much that the dress rehearsal was done last weekend, right, with Manchester City against Man United, because Arsenal and Manchester City play very similar styles of football. And what I found so fascinating about that was in the first half of the Man City game, they struggled obviously against Manchester United, and then I felt in the second half they made a few tactical decisions, and it really helped them out. One of those was inverting one of their fullbacks, and obviously we'll probably talk about Oleksandr Zinchenko and the impact he's had at Arsenal, but right. I felt that approach just really benefited.
So they inverted Zinchenko?
That's right, yeah. So
what did that actually mean?
Yes, and inverting a fullback is a simple thing. You rather than your fullback doing what you would expect for the last couple of decades of fullback to do, which is run down the line, just come inside and help out with the midfield. It gives you a little bit of an overload in the midfield, so you're adding another player into the midfield mix, so you can start dominating the ball a bit more in the middle. It also does other things to the opposite. So, for example, Manchester United play a three-player forward press. So that means they have three players who are going to be the first line of the press against a back four, which means they're always going to have the opposition are always going to have an extra player over. And the idea is that you just shift. This isn't great for audio, is it? But the front three,
pictures,
the front three shift across when the ball's on one side, shift back across to the other. Right. Now, if one of those players drops in the inside, it sort of upsets things a little bit, and it makes them quite narrow, opens up wide areas to exploit. And the other thing that Manchester United do is they like to man mark in the central midfield areas. And so what we saw a lot of was Zinchenko inverting. So pulling whoever was on the right hand side inwards, creating space on the wide areas, and then Granit Xhaka pulling out wide, pulling his marker with him, which was usually I think Scott McTominay, maybe Fernandes, I can't remember. But again, pulling that player out, and you're creating space in the middle. So Manchester United want to overload the middle; they want to make it cloggy in the middle, and what Arsenal were doing with their on-ball approach was just making as much space, pulling things around in the centre, and that really benefited them, particularly in the second half, because it's very tiring to man mark in the central midfield area. Gaps opened up in the second half, and they were just able to turn the screw. So yeah, really enjoyable game, I thought, tactically. But I wonder how much of that Arteta got from just watching the Manchester derby the weekend before.
Right, and how much as well it might be influenced by the fact that Scott McTominay was in for, say, Casemiro, how much that might have changed the game, but that was his own silly fault for getting that card, of course. How about the goals, Jay? What quality there?
Yeah, I have to start by saying I had the strange experience of watching this game in the Leeds press room.
Okay.
So what happens there is you've got 15 people around you. You're all trying to work. You're all trying to file your match pieces. And there's just a couple of screens dotted around you. And every now and then, one person, and it was always me, would just go, "Oh, what a goal. Oh my God," just reacting to the game. I've obviously gone back and watched it since. And earlier in the season, I said, Arsenal would be really tested if Jesus or Partey got injured.
Right.
And we'd see if they had adequate backup. So the first thing I have to come on here and say is I'm sorry, Eddie Nketiah, because over the last few months I've doubted if you'd be able to step up to the mantle, and you've done it phenomenally. I think that's now 4 goals in 5 Premier League starts for Arsenal since Jesus got injured. And obviously he's come up in those big trump moments. So obviously he was just doing exactly what a traditional centre-forward would do, just getting those scrappy goals. Wan-Bissaka's defending for Nketiah's headers poor, but Nketiah's movement's brilliant. And then Saka's goals obviously just sensational. There's no way he should be scoring from there, but he's just got such good quality. He just somehow finds that bottom corner.
It was an amazing goal. Rashford's opener for United was delicious as well.
Yeah, that nutmeg is... I don't even know the words to say it, to fully describe that. It's like something I'd see like playing football when I was 10 years old in a street cage. Like, and yeah, you get nutmeg like that, and everyone just starts jumping up and down, going, "Oh my God, you just got nutmeg!" You know, you if you're the person who gets nutmegged in that scenario, you know, you walk off the cage and you don't return for a month. That was a pretty special goal.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Would you call Nketiah's winner scrappy?
Yeah, a little bit. Because,
really?
Yeah, just because of the way, is it Odegaard who kind of takes the shot and it kind of rebounds, and Nketiah is kind of leaning back, and maybe fortuitous, maybe not scrappy, but fortuitous.
Right. Does Gabriel Jesus get back in this side, Daniel?
I don't know. I think it's basically fallen by hook or by crook perfectly for Arsenal, because Jesus set the tone in early season, which was about, you know, everything Arteta has been preaching to these players, which is that the hard work will make the team work, basically, and the need to press up front, the need for everyone in that attacking line to do it. And Saka and Martinelli do it brilliantly. So does Martin Odegaard. And just when everyone had sort of got that and everyone was following Jesus' lead, suddenly they bring this poacher into the team who starts scoring. You know, I think Jesus has scored 5 from 61 shots this season, and then Nketiah now has 9 from 57. So it's kind of fallen perfectly for them. They do legitimately now have 2 options. I think if Jesus had got injured 3 weeks ago rather than a couple of months ago, they probably would have tried to buy a striker in January. But now they don't need to do that. Instead, they've been able to buy the wide forward that takes the pressure off Martinelli and Saka a little bit, and everything suddenly falls into place, as it seems to be doing this season.
Wow. Remarkable stat. Arsenal had 63 touches in the Man United box in this game. To put that in context, it's the most that any side has had in a Premier League match this season. United had 12 in the Arsenal box. They had 63. Good Lord. All right. Good Lord. Player with most touches. Anyone?
I think you can do your magic on Zinchenko.
It was Zinchenko, yes, Jay.
Yeah, I didn't even say what did I? Yeah, it's Zinchenko.
No, player with most touches, Jay.
Zinchenko.
Yeah.
Oh.
Inverted or not. He was the inverted fellow, yeah?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
and it's been really important to Arsenal. One of the things I talk about a lot with Arsenal this season is that they're able to problem solve in every phase of play. So Daniel was just talking about how they're really, really good in terms of their off-ball stuff. Their pressing is great. They pressed super high against Manchester United, caused them loads of problems. We all know about David De Gea's woes, and there was that famous clip of him then shanking the ball straight out of play in the game as well. But also in just every phase of build-up, they have different ways of playing. So they can play with a flat back four if they want. They can keep Zinchenko out wide. They can bring him inside. They can have Ben White sitting as almost like an outside centre-back in a 3, or they can push him forward and have him inverted as well. And what those different approaches do is it allows you to find ways of playing around the opposition's forward press. So if a team is pressing with 2 forwards, you might want an overload, so you'll stick Ben White back, so you've got 3 on 2 there. We've already talked about the impact they got from inverting the fullback as well, but sometimes you'll play against teams who are going to press really high with a 3, and then you might want a flat back 4 because it just gives you more space horizontally as well. So what Mikel Arteta has done is that he's just got this team so flexible that when things are happening in game, he can make changes really quickly and just takes the sting out of what the opposition are doing.
So Arsenal are at this point where they are on 50 points after 19 games. That's 15 points better off than they were this time last season. Liverpool were here 50 points after 19 games in 2018-2019. Didn't go on to win the title because what happened? Man City, who'd been slumping, came back and boom. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.